Good morning. This morning we're going to take a look at Ezekiel 18, 1 through 9. We're looking at 1 through 9 because it gives us a list of things that a person who is going to live would do. It gives you an idea of the kind of life that a person that is concerned about God and kingdom living would live. We begin with verse 1 of the 18th chapter of Ezekiel. And I have a little worksheet for you. And I entitled this, "The One Who Sins Will Die." This is Ezekiel, the 18th chapter, verses 1 through 9, and rather than coding it, I highlighted and made a worksheet from some of the key concepts. The word of the Lord came to me. What do you people mean by quoting this proverb about the land of Israel? The parents eat sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, you should no longer quote this proverb in Israel, for everyone belongs to me, the parent as well as the child. Both alike belong to me. The one who sins is the one who will die. Not your father, not your mother, not your friend, not your pastor, but the one who sins will take responsibility for their own sins. This is a concept that has been misconstrued and taught erroneously for a long time. And we pin a lot of blame on the fathers. But the text here, Ezekiel, makes it plain and clear. Not only should you not only should you know that teaching that children suffer from the sins of their fathers, but you should also refrain from using that kind of terminology. People suffer for their own individual sins. Now, I am one that believes that God doesn't bless individuals, but he blesses families. But an individual certainly can take a family off of its track and down a track towards poverty and hardship by their own individual sins. Verse 3 gives us the verse that says, suppose there is a righteous man who does what is just and right. Well, we have RJR. That first R is for righteous man. That J is for just, and the R is for right. I'm encouraging you to understand that if you live righteous, and if you are just and right, you will live. Verse 6 says, he does not eat the mountain shrines or look to the idols of Israel. Once again, if you remember the story of Abraham, he went up to the mountain. Moses went up to the mountain to see God. The mountain is a holy place. Those things that are sacrificed on the altar in the mountain are holy as well. You ought not eat those things. You ought not eat anything sacred from the altar without sacred purpose. We look at the end of that. It says he does not defile his neighbor's wife or have sexual relations with a woman during her period. Well, we already know that adultery is sin, and that is what having an adulterous relationship with your neighbor's wife would constitute. But it goes on further to say you ought not have sexual relations with a woman during a period. In that defile a neighbor's wife, I was trying to say adulterous affairs, but the F kind of jumped in the way. But then in the next one, the L and the D, I'm trying to show you that it is not wise nor prudent in God's sight to mix the fluids of life, which is the man's bodily fluids, and the fluids of death, which is a woman's menstrual fluids. Those fluids are not meant for procreation. They are meant for purging and cleaning. And therefore, you ought not mix. When blood is shed in the Bible, it usually refers to the death. You ought not mix the fluids of life with the fluids of death. We then move to verse 7. He does not oppress anyone, but returns what he took in a pledge for a loan. God is fair. That's what that F stands for. He does not commit robbery. God is not a thief. That's what the T stands for. But he gives food to the hungry. God is a missionary. Begin to compare your nature with God's nature. If it is your desire to live in the kingdom with God, once this life is o'er forever, then you ought to be compatible with God. The text goes on and it says he does not lend them interest or take a profit from them. Once again, God is fair in business practices. He does not exploit. That's what that E is for. He does not exploit. He withholds his hand from doing wrong and judges fairly between the two parties. God is fair and God is just. Verse 9, he follows my decrees and faithfully keeps my laws. That man is righteous. He shall surely live. He's a law-abiding man. That's what that L stands for. He's a law-abiding man, both God's law and man's law. And when there's a conflict, he follows God's law. I want you to look at this last little portion of this worksheet. I would encourage you to read the full chapter, but we're just highlighting verses 30 through 32 right now, according to the the New International Version. Therefore, you Israelites, I will judge each of you according to your own ways, declares the sovereign Lord. Repent, turn away from all of your offenses, not some, but all. Then sin will not be your downfall. Rid yourselves of all the offenses that you have committed. Make a list and get a new heart and a new spirit. Make a list. Why will you die, people of Israel? For I take, listen to this, no pleasure in the death of anyone, declares the sovereign Lord. Repent and live. Because the sovereign Lord said it, that means that it is a law. A law in the kingdom is whatever comes out of the kingdom or the king's mouth. We have concluded this particular portion for our Sunday school. I want you to study the word. I don't want you to debate the word. I invite you to join us at any time on any Tuesday, either online or in person. But to God be the glory. And I think this text makes it pretty clear that the one who sins is the one who dies. But it gives you some options here in terms of salvation. It's not just cut and dry. God is gracious. And it asks you at the very end, just rid yourself and be the person that we always knew you could be. Thank you so much. To God be the glory for the things that he has done. We will see you at 11 a.m.